Welcome back to Startup Talk, Toronto Startup Podcast. And with me today is Marcus Dickinson. Welcome, Marcus.
Hey, good morning, Craig.
Good morning. So tell us a little bit about the How-To Project.
So, How-To Project. Really what is there to say? There's two arms to our business. We work with larger corporate enterprises, and then we take that big business expertise to small business through our various mentoring programs.
And what does that mean?
What does that mean? The big business side's pretty straightforward. We do remote project management. So essentially, we do a lot of management consulting. We'll integrate systems, we'll revise processes, streamline operations. On average, we save our customers about 30% in profit, which is pretty cool. So that's straightforward. On the other side, what does it mean? Well, we have a limitless results mentoring program and community. And essentially what we wanted to do was differentiate ourselves from guys like you and all the other accelerators and coaching and all that other stuff out there. So what we did is we looked at what a lot of people are doing right, and Toronto Starts is one of them. So we decided to take what works well, duplicate it, figure out what we have that others don't, bring that to the table. So essentially what that looks like is what we found is that people were sick and tired of long-term contracts. Spend 16 grand on a program on somebody you've met for a day. Like, no, thank you, but people do it all the time. So we introduced a 3-month obligation period. So you get to kind of try it out. And at the end of that 3 months, just like, I guess, probation in a workplace, if you like it, we continue. And if we like it, you continue. And then it's a 9-month commitment for the 1-year program. So you actually get a little bit of a taste of it. The entire program itself is the only program in Canada that has a legally backed guarantee to double your income. That was another big thing for people, is having a guarantee. And actually the third piece that turned out to be the most fun for us too, is that people don't like being told what to do really at the end of the day. So we introduced a system where we control the first session together, and that first session will be the basis for every business decision you ever make. And should you choose to actually do the work using this system, then you get to decide what modules you want to learn as you progress throughout the program. So if you're desperate to learn Facebook ads, and in a standard program it says it's 10 months from now, well, if the data you're collecting shows that you're ready for Facebook ads, we'll do Facebook ads with you in month 2 if you want to. So there's a lot more flexibility to it, and it's really allowed us to help a lot of stage 2 businesses, those that are doing 50,000 to 500,000, and essentially within 12 months double their income. So it's been a lot of fun, and being in person has helped really develop relationships and make close connections with our students.
It sounds like your program is a much more longer version and mature version of the program that I run, which, we focus on doubling your monthly recurring revenue, but we're focused on, companies that are making, 500, 1,000, 2,000 bucks a month to try and take them to the next level where they're actually getting some traction, get us some clients, actually have a business. So we work on all sorts of things similar to the stuff you do, but at a much micro level where who is your client really, all the lean startup stuff that actually, and some growth hacking stuff that get people earlier in the funnel, but definitely not $50,000 a month or more. Those are people have well established the principles that I teach.
Right. So sorry, let me clarify. It's 50,000 a year for us.
Sorry. Yeah, fair enough.
It's exactly right. And that's why I love the way you describe our relationship personally. You create pirates, I create navies, because that's essentially it. I mean, once someone is established and done the work and committed to themselves and their business, everyone seems to think it's going to get easier as they grow, but you and I both know it just gets worse and worse. So we focus a lot, again, taking from that big business, is how do we automate things? How do we systematize things? How do we introduce workflows into your CRM and all these other tools so that you can really actually scale in a sustainable way? So it's a little bit different, but it's kind of a continuation of the work you're doing.
Definitely. So tell me a little bit about what you were like growing up. Were you a handful for your parents? Were you into sports? Were you into music? Were you studious?
A handful would be an understatement. I mean, listen, I'm almost 50 now. So back then they didn't have ADHD as a diagnosis, but I would have been the poster child for it. My poor parents, looking back, I don't know how they put up with me, and they barely did. Like we didn't have always the best relationship at times, but I was all over the place. I was fortunate. I went to private school as a child, highly intelligent, learned how to learn, really was what the bottom line was. Was social. I've always been social. Wasn't really into sports. Was more of I like things to either be I succeed on my own or I fail on my own type of thing. So I was into martial arts, that kind of stuff. It kept my energy levels normalized. But yeah, I was definitely a problem child right up through my teens until unfortunately finally left the home a little bit early and then realized that doesn't work in the real world. So yeah, I mean, still have a great relationship with my mom. As I age, my relationship with my father's improving, and it's one of those things. In hindsight, you know, when we were young, we thought we knew everything, and now I realize I really know nothing at all. And I'm very grateful that my parents didn't kill me.
uh, so true. We won't even get into how parallel that is to some of the stuff I've been through. So so you're past that now, but what was your early career path? University, jobs?
Yeah, so I went to college, and I went to college late actually because being so hyper intelligent, I guess is the word that was used a lot. I got bored easily, so I spent too long in high school and didn't have even the best marks because I didn't do a whole lot of work. I don't think I ever did an assignment in high school, so I ended up traveling for a couple of years, and when I came back, I got a job as a computer bench technician, and doing that for a couple of months, someone said, hey, there's a new program being introduced at Durham College. It's a 2-year accelerated computer programming degree, and you don't need any prerequisites or anything. So I was like, cool, all in, along with like 160 other people. And it ended up being one of the most brutal things I've ever done in my life. In that 2 years, the attrition rate left about 30 of us graduating. So it's an incredibly hard program. And for the first time in my life, I found I actually really had to focus on things. Gonna have to pause a sec. Someone's at the door. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're recording again now that your drywall company's here. So you were telling me this course was the first course that ever made you work.
Yeah, so graduated from that. During the process of being in that program, I found on a random computer in a lab one day, I found this piece of software open called Macromedia Flash, and loved it because it was a culmination of everything that I needed to stay focused. It had creativity and animation, and eventually ended up having code, and I had a piece in authoring that with Macromedia. So it was just a tool that allowed me to have basically a canvas to get all of my different ideas and aspirations out on towards. So my first job out of college actually was in digital marketing, and I stayed in that industry for 22 years.
Wow, 22 years. So digital marketing, how did it progress over 22 years? I got to imagine it's completely different now than it was.
Yeah, you know, it's actually funny. So I still do digital marketing for our existing retainer clients, but as far as staying up to date, I wouldn't even consider myself entirely relevant anymore, unfortunately, with the execution side. But the way it's changed is when I started, it was all print, and then digital was a small afterthought. So everyone believed in brochure websites, all I need is just a presence to let people know I'm online, and field of dreams mentality. If I build it, they will come. And then that changed over the years to actually understanding the power of what a website can do for you. Of course, mobile got introduced along the way, so I watched a shift over time. I watched the death of Internet Explorer and the dominance of Chrome. I watched how everything went from desktop. I mean, we used to build at a safe resolution of 800 by 600 when I started.
I remember those days.
And then I watched it transform to now where everything's mobile first. You don't even build desktop. It's that's the afterthought now. And then the introduction of apps were phenomenal, and just the evolution of even iOS and how that's progressed over the years, and the programming languages and tools behind it. Xcode, I popped it open just the other day and I was like, wow, don't even recognize this anymore. So just the transformation and evolution of the technologies have been incredible. Then you add on to things like social media and the power of influence marketing. Like it's changed so much that I can't, that's what kept me engaged again with who I was growing up and who I've always been. I wouldn't be that guy working at a car factory. So, you know, there are some agencies that are literally marketing factories, and that was just never for me. So I was fortunate that my hunger for knowledge, my insatiable quest for new, was always rewarded in that agency space. So I was always learning new things, always writing books, always doing conferences, always had an ability to do some research and development. So I was, again, very fortunate, and it helped me accelerate quite quickly in my career.
So when did you decide to run your own company?
Yeah, so funny story there. Really what happened is I learned early on in my career that I used to say everything is code, right? Whether it was just code or how people interact with each other, it's all code. Like there's a code, personality codes and team dynamic codes. And anyway, so I did that, and I kept getting advanced as I discovered how there was these similar structures regardless of what I was working on. And then I got introduced to project management and switched my thinking to everything as a project. So got really good at organizing teams, then organizing the business itself, streamlining the operations in our company, then our sister company, then some of our clients, then some of the sister company clients, then some of the clients' clients. And suddenly, you know, I was invaluable and part of the executive VP suite. Did so well that a Chinese company made an offer on the agency, and the agency took it and made a lot of money. Unfortunately, one of the stipulations was the entire executive suite had to be fired so it could be replaced with their senior team. Well, hell, 22 years, and I worked myself out of a job. So I contacted a few recruitment agencies in the city, and they were like, yeah, we can get you something. And everything was like $45,000 entry-level marketing jobs. And I was making over $300,000 a year at that point. So there was no way that my ego would take that blow. So I thought, with everything I have, I'll start a business, and if I build it, they will come. So it was about 8 years ago now that I started my own company.
So with your 22 years of digital marketing research, working with all different companies, why did you decide this company? You know, having your vast experience working with lots of different companies, why the How To Project?
So it's actually very simple. I was so bitter and so angry and so butthurt about the entire situation that I wanted nothing to do with marketing again at all. Project management, like I said, had been the newer skill set I'd only learned over the previous 5 years. So I thought, I'm going to go right into that. So got the proper certifications renewed, started getting some other people that had those certifications, and thought, that's what I will focus on. And the reason How To Project is, I mean, you might appreciate this. I don't know if the kids today will get it, but I started looking for the domain names that I wanted, and GoDaddy owned them all. So I reached out to GoDaddy and said, hey, could I have this domain? And they're like, sure, 20,000 US. So I kept searching and searching and searching. And as I was searching, I was typing things like how to find a domain name and how to this and how to that. And I was amazed at the autocomplete even then, 8 years ago. And suddenly I realized, How To Project. It just makes sense. And since then, I mean, we're so highly ranked on Google. We're looking at starting a YouTube channel for the same reason, because how to is the #1 search term on YouTube. So it just seems simple and funny, and it fit.
Sounds great. So what unmet need or problem are you solving?
Yeah, so we're actually testing on a new tagline, and we're updating our website shortly to reflect the new branding. And really, it's a question for people to ask themselves: is what would you do with an extra 40 hours per month? Right? I mean, what would you do if we could give you back 1 week per month? And earlier I told you that we're typically saving companies about 30% profitability. Well, when you work out that in a time sense, that's about 40 hours or so a month. So we really are looking at ways to just simply give you back a bit of the life that you work so hard for. That's really the need we're solving at the end of the day, is freeing you up to do the things that matter more to you.
Sounds like life hacking, but for business.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Who is your ideal client?
Right. So again, 2 branches. Ideal client, we call them stage 3+ business owners. So those are your larger companies doing 1 mil to 3 mil seems to be our sweet spot. We do deal with a couple of companies that are doing over 10 million a year in revenue. So for our standard service offering of project management, remote project management, and implementation, it's 1 mil plus. And then for the other side, the Limitless Results Mentoring programs, those are stage 2 business owners, 12 months in business, 50K to 500K. The verticals we prefer to work in for the standard corporate stuff is we work in construction, we work in health and wellness, and of course, we work in digital marketing. For the mentoring, it's fairly agnostic because at that stage, I mean, there's not a whole lot of specialization and skills needed yet. So what we do works for any industry.
So I like to talk about both successes and failures. So some people might learn from the past, the mistakes you made. So can you tell us something about a decision you made that didn't quite go well and what you did to solve it? If you can still hear me after that audio freak out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Man, there's so many mistakes. I don't even know where to begin. So I'll tell you 2 fun stories. The first is my first year in business. So my first year in business, so I took a few months off after getting fired, had a nice package, the whole bit. And I just sat around playing video games. They'd always been my escape growing up. They are still my escape now as an adult. So I just liked games, the big long ones, World of Warcraft and other things like that, even though, I've graduated in what I like to play. So when I had the opportunity now, I was starting a business, got some clients, and first thing I did was hire someone else to do all the work. So the first year in business, the company did about 3 million in revenue, which was phenomenal, except for the fact that I did very little of that work. I put together the website because that was my skill set. And then I sat back and played video games. So at the end of a year, yeah, everything looked fine and dandy, except that this first person I hired was the one that developed all the relationships and knew every single way that the company ran. I didn't even think about anything like an NDA or a non-compete. So about 14 months into my business, suddenly every last client I had was gone. And I was about negative $300,000 in the bank at the end of the day. Wow. So yeah, that was a massive mistake and a very depressing time in my life. But you have 2 choices. You can either crawl under the table and hide and say, woe is me, which I think I did for about 8 minutes. Or you get up and you say, no, I'm a CEO. The only choice is to move forward, learn from it. What did I do? What can I change? How can I have that never happen again? So the good news is that hasn't, but about 1,000 other mistakes have happened since then. One of the funniest ones is that one of my weaknesses we identified with my team once I built up the team was that I have a lot of ideas. And being who I am, I like to implement them all immediately. And that became very frustrating for corporate focus, for keeping aligned with a particular vision. So we developed, a sandbox system where all my ideas get to go in a sandbox. And once every quarter, the team evaluates what I get to play with. So that's how things work nowadays. And it helps keep me focused and it helps keep them on brand, knowing what direction we're heading for our clients.
Yeah, I just throw you in the growth hacking team as a member and you get to play in the sandbox a little bit.
There you go.
Everyone talks about hustle. So what are you doing to get traction and build your audience?
Yeah, I don't believe in hustle. Not the concept of hustle, the word hustle. I'm so anti buzzwords in the industry because they get so overused and they really just, they oversimplify far more complicated ideas. Like everyone's like, if you hustle, then you'll make it. And I'm like, well, no, because you could hustle yourself right out of a deal. Like you could be going so fast that you're not paying attention to do things right. So at this point in our career, we don't really hustle. We've got our systems in place. We've got our marketing working. We're always playing with new ideas. Right now, we have a whole new workshop series we've introduced, and they're kind of fun so far and a little bit different and a little bit more engaging. So really for us, it's just, I tell this to everybody, it's just follow-up, consistent follow-up. We nurture the relationships we have with our existing clients and we ask them, do you like what we're doing? What would you like to see us doing? What would you like us to stop doing? I mean, there's no need for me to go out and spend a ton on market research or come up with ideas on my own and then just implement them because I have this great data set available to me called living customers. So I just ask them what they want and that's what we do. It sounds really simple, but that's at the end of the day, that's our hustle, is just making sure that our customers are there with us for the journey.
So do you have any tips for founders?
So many. Yeah, I guess the best tips I could give is stop thinking you have to know how to do it all. You don't need to do it yourself. That's not how it works. Ask for help. Surround yourself with people that are better at these things than you are. Delegate. If you don't have money for something, figure out another way, right? Like figure out whether it's barter or I don't even like barter, but just figure out, be creative and make it happen. Because at the end of the day, that's really the only choice. You can have excuses and all these stories you tell yourself, oh, later I'll do that when I have money. Well, no, stop chasing the money and talk to guys like Craig and say, hey, Craig, can you help me? And it'll happen, right? So just stop doing it all alone. The other big thing I would say is it's okay to have bad moments. It's okay to fall down flat on your face. Just don't stay there. Right? Indulge in it, allow yourself to feel it, but then just get up and move forward regardless of your emotional state. Everyone talks about loving what you do, and I don't really buy into that either, because it's based on an emotional state. And even on crappy moments, I still have to get up and work. That's just how it is, right? So learn how to allow yourself to feel miserable and still push forward. So those would be my two biggest tips, I think, for business owners.
I'm a big believer in loving what you do, but I think it might be more in your context, and the way we're talking here is enjoying what you do rather than hating what you do.
I think the word I would specify is passion, right? You and I have a passion for what we do, but I'll be honest with you, there's days I don't love it. There's days I do hate it. There's days I don't want to do it, but I'm still passionate about it. So I know it's semantics, but for me, those words are important because, it just, you're not always going to feel cheery and bright-eyed about your business.
So how important is being able to pitch for an entrepreneur?
Oh my God. There's nothing more important. I mean, you are your business. Everyone that is part of your company is your business. And if your team and yourself can't answer with clarity exactly what it is you do and why that matters, what the benefit is to someone, you have no business. And some people are like, oh, but I don't like speaking in front of people. Then you don't have a business. And other people are like, well, my stuff's for everybody, so I can just tell them, I'm an accountant and everybody knows what an accountant is. Then you don't have a business. You need to be able to differentiate yourself and do it in one sentence, because if you cannot, you don't have a business. That's how important pitching is to me.
So what's next for you?
Yeah. So, well, like I said, I'm playing around with these new workshops. They're fun. And I get to do stuff like that every quarter, come up with new ideas, and I get allocated a budget from my company to play. So more fun is in my future. My wife and I are actually looking at, retiring in the next couple of years. We're almost in a place financially that we've accomplished everything we've been setting out to do. So the next step for us is probably moving to Panama or somewhere nice and warm, and just working remotely from there when we need to, or flying back every now and then to do a larger event. And I don't know, that's really what we're looking at right now. So it's hard to say entirely where that'll go, but that's the new idea that we're pursuing, is just winding down.
So where can people go to find out more about you and the How To Project?
Right. Well, so there is our website, HowtoProject.ca. If you want to know about the mentoring and you're interested perhaps in doubling your income, then you can text your email address to 1-855-618-8880, and that will set you up on a nice autoresponder sequence that will educate you and give you the opportunities to determine whether or not you would like to apply for that opportunity.
Fantastic. And thank you for being part of Startup Talk.
Always. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you.
Bye.